HollyHall.com, and we are going to talk about predictions. But first, we're going to talk about soul rebirths. A lot of my clients that I work with, I tell them that they are going through a soul rebirth or a soul ascension. And they always ask me, what is that again? What does that mean again? So I thought, I need to do a video about this. I need to talk about the importance of a soul ascension and a soul rebirth. Now, I was working with a client today, and he's specifically going through a soul ascension soul rebirth / ascension. But some people are only going through a soul rebirth, and some people are only going through a soul ascension. Now, technically, what this means is that Pluto is hovering over a major part of your chart. Your sun, your moon, your Venus, your Mercury, or your Mars. Okay. If you're going through Pluto connecting with your sun, it has to do with your basic personality and characteristics that you were here to learn in the programming as a child, specifically under the age of 7. If it is the moon, it has to be a soul rebirth. It has to do with your childhood, a past life, and as well with your children and your mother, relationship with mother. If it's a soul rebirth or ascension with your Mercury, it has to do with how you think. What are the thoughts in your head? How do you dialogue with yourself? How do you communicate with other people? And what do you need to learn? What do you need to study? What do you need to practice that you may not be doing in this lifetime? Hey, everyone on Instagram. I picked this Starry Night. Isn't that cool? If I don't move, it actually kind of goes into the background. Okay. That's on my Instagram. I got the Starry Night, not on my Facebook and YouTube. Oh, goes a little bit here too. That's cool. And if it's with Venus, it has to do with how you love life. Now, a lot of people think that Venus is a planet of love. Venus. And but it's not just love. Okay. Traditional human, blah, blah, love. I get frustrated when people think love only has to do with somebody loving me and me loving somebody else in an intimate way. No, it's about how do you love yourself and how do you love life? How do you love your life? How do you love your mornings, love your evenings, love your days, love your home, love your job, love your body, love your routine, love your regime, love the room I'm in right now, looking outside at the trees, loving nature, loving a hobby, loving an interest, and loving people, and loving family, and loving in an intimate relationship. Yeah, it has to do with all of that. It has to do with the essence and the embodiment of love. Okay, so when we're going through a soul thing, it has to do with that department of who you are as a human. And then when it's Mars, how do you take action on what you love? What do you do about it? How do you react to it? How do you take action on it? How do you get passionate about it? How do you get angry about it? How do you get feisty about it? What direction do you take when you want that? Right? So now, what's the difference between ascension and rebirth? And then we're going to go into some free readings. So an ascension, that's a good one, right? The ascension is when you've accumulated many behavioral patterns and characteristics and sort of got a lot in your toolbox. And now you're able, and they're about 2 years long, each one. And so now you're able to use those tools to manifest. Right? So if it's Venus, you're going to manifest more love in your job, if it's in the second or the sixth or the 10th house, it'll be around your job and your career. If it's in the first and the fifth and the 7th house, it's going to be around self-love and love in relationships and romance. Okay, so it's all of these components of love. If it's with the sun, a lot of times people will quit their jobs during a soul ascension. They'll quit their jobs. They quit their entire career, and they retire from that career. They end a chapter. They close a book in their life, and they decide, I want to do something else. And I want to take some some more control around this, because Pluto right now is in Capricorn. So the energy around that is about taking back control globally. This is about taking back control on a global level, because I look at Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, sometimes Saturn, but definitely Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. I look at those for global events. So globally, with everything in Saturn, and it's going to be moving into, I got a whole thing on that on my YouTube channel. Ask Holly Hall is my YouTube. And so we want to do that. And then, but within ourselves, we want to take, Capricorn is about taking control back. And a lot of people are going into self-employment right now. That's why we see this saturation of coaches, right? I've done this all my life. I can coach people how to do this, and it can be in any arena. And coaching doesn't necessarily mean that, like what I do, where I work with my clients using my psychic ability and the stars and the planets and everything else, remote viewing, and some psychology and neurolinguistic programming and stuff that I've learned, and some hypnosis. I work with my clients and I coach them to make better decisions for themselves and for their soul. But like today, I worked with a client, and she's in a soul rebirth, a triple whammy. So 6 years of this. I did the same thing a few years ago. It's hard. And she goes, well, do you see me staying in my job? And she's around 50, in her late 40s, soon to be 50. And I said, no, when this is over, which is 2024, you're going to be self-employed. She's like, oh, and she started crying. She goes, oh, why am I crying? Well, I'm crying, but I'm not upset or anything. I said, yeah, because I touched your soul. Oh my God, I had a party. Yeah, I touched your soul. When that that cry comes out of nowhere for you're going to be self-employed, that's not heart-wrenching, is it? Because I spoke to her soul. Her soul felt heard and recognized and jumped for joy, which brought out a tearful, heartfelt, deep emotion for her. So what she's been doing is she just moved into a management position when I predicted last summer. And she does a lot of, I don't know in detail, but she does a lot of micromanaging of management. She's in upper management and she helps manage management. And I said, you're going to end up being in like a coaching teaching position where you're going to go into companies. And I saw more charitable work and more, not charitable, charities and non-for-profits. And they, people, they think like, well, I'm going to downsize. I get paid really well right now. Sorry, charities and non-for-profits pay very, very well. Too well. Sometimes there's some CEOs that make $500,000 a year as in a charity, right? Minimum $150,000 a year. Minimum. That's the lowest paid CEO charity, which is the Salvation Army. Okay, so yeah, the ones upper there, up, they get paid really well. So I saw her coaching, but temporarily. So this is where her soul rebirth, which I'm going to get to, and that's usually around the sun. So a soul ascension is a wonderful feeling because we've accumulated a whole bunch of tools. We got them in our toolbox. We've got a lot of talents and a lot of gifts, and I can usually see exactly what they are. And you're about to manifest. You're about to get the fruits of your labor. This is a creation time. Now you can wait to the bitter end, which will be at the end of the 2-year cycle. Or when people work with me, I coach them to make it happen at the beginning, if we can. Get out, because sometimes we can go through a complete soul ascension and totally miss the mark, right? Like 2 ships in a night, you completely miss it. You get sidetracked with other things in your life. You have limiting beliefs that you haven't really worked through directly. And you might make a 1 to 10% advancement in your soul ascension and manifest a tiny little bit in your life. But I want to see the full Monty. I want to see you just knock it out of the park, right? That's what my mission is with my clients. Now, a soul rebirth, that one's difficult. You think about it, it's a rebirth. You're birthing. Birthing is painful for the person in most cases, for the person giving birth and in the gestation period. And, I don't know, the babies come out screaming and crying. So I don't think it's that pleasant for them either. Right? So this is a difficult process. And it is from an old life to a new life. A soul ascension is a step up. It's like graduating from grade school to university, right? That's a huge step up. You're now university. You're in the big leagues, right? You're no longer just a child and a student in school or a protege. You're up there. This is serious, right? So a soul rebirth is more difficult because we're letting go of behavioral patterns and strategies and limiting beliefs, as well as characteristics that no longer serve us, and they no longer serve you in many lifetimes. You've come into this lifetime. So a soul ascension, when people say, what's my destiny? Where's my mission? I feel like I come here to do something specific. Not everybody feels that way, but a lot of people do. What is my mission? What's my destiny? I'm here to do something. When the soul ascension happens, I'm like, this is it. This is what you were born to do. Here's your time. Here's your time, and there's your 15 minutes of fame in this lifetime. Make it work, right? This is what you came to do. A soul rebirth is letting go of behavioral patterns that you've had in many lifetimes. And some of them are not on you, right? They're not 100%. You don't take 100% ownership of that in a way, because it's not your fault. There's no blame here. There's no fault here. It's more around, there is karma, so that's like, yeah, made some bad choices and you're going to pay the piper right now. So that is part of it, definitely. But there's another part of it, and I can see this. For instance, I had a client last week who had lifetimes of being a servant. And so in this lifetime, she's not a servant, a slave or a servant, and she doesn't have a dictatorial, overbearing master of sorts. And I actually came up with a saying, and I was like, I never heard that before. You master, you no longer have a master. You no longer are a mistress in this lifetime. You are not master to anything, and you are not mistress to anyone in this lifetime. That's what I said to her. And Source gave me that because I was even like, whoa, that's profound. And that really hit home for her because all she did was serve in this lifetime. And if she didn't serve, she had a lot of anxiety around not serving properly because she would be disciplined, reprimanded. She would suffer. She says, I actually feel like I'm going to starve, that I'm not going to be housed, I'm not going to be taken care of, and that I'm starving. She goes, I know it's unrealistic, but I feel like if I don't do my due diligence and I don't have my duties all lined up, and I don't give everybody everything that they want, even if they don't even ask for it, right? They don't even ask for it. They're there before their master gets angry with them because they haven't provided them with their needs, right? So they're already prepared to give anybody anything they want before they even ask for it. This anxiety was so strong within herself that she said, I literally feel like I will starve, or I will lose my home, or I will lose my paycheck. I won't be able to take care of myself. And I said, yeah, that's what happens when you are born in many, many lifetimes as a servant. They clothe you, they house you, they feed you, they take care of you in a really bad situation. Yeah, if you aren't, and that could be part of your disciplinary inaction for not being a good servant. And then you're born in this lifetime with the good girl syndrome. And so her soul rebirth was to let go of that servant, to fire that servant. You are no longer needed. You need to serve no one but yourself. You are your own master. You are your own mistress. Serve yourself. They don't know how to do that. That's a really difficult thing to do. And the more that what happens is during that type of soul rebirth is the more that they try to serve someone else, the more it's not going to be welcomed. It'll be thankless. In fact, they might even get angry because they didn't ask you for it. And that's your soul's way, or Source's way, or the universe's way of saying, stop doing this. We didn't ask you to do this. It's not welcome. It's unsolicited. You're creating a one-sided agreement. And what I mean by a one-sided agreement is that if I say to you, you need my help because you don't have a job. You're not getting along with your parents. I want to help you. You and your husband are fighting all the time. I'm going to help you. And I'm going to give you all, you're not healthy. I'm going to give you all this advice, everything you should do, everywhere you should go. I'm going to serve. I'm going to help you. I will be your servant. Right. And that person may speak, that's a one-sided contract. I didn't hire you to do that. I didn't ask you to do that. I wasn't saying, I need help. I don't know what to do. Who's going to help me? Right. I didn't do that. So what happens in the soul rebirth is people start to get upset with you because there's a one-sided power struggle here. You're forcing your help on me and didn't ask for it. But there's a silent agreement that I feel like I have to take the help because I'm ungrateful then. And so I should take this help and I should try this and I should be gracious and I should be grateful and I should be thankful. And so then that person thinks that, oh, I'm doing a good job. I'm serving them and it's helping them and they're gaining pleasure from this and guidance and support. I'm going to keep doing it. And then the person's getting more exasperated. Like, now I have to accommodate you again and take your assistance and take your help and your advice, etc. So you got to be really careful during a soul rebirth. And that's what I tell my clients is to not provide unsolicited. So then people say, all you servants out there, all of you caretakers out there, all of you Mother Teresa's out there, that's usually a strong Pisces energy. You're all going, well, what do I do then? I can't just sit there and watch my friends suffer when I know this can help them and I know that can help them. What am I supposed to do? You give them, I know someone that I went to and I think they might be able to help you. If you're interested, I got the phone number and that's it. You wait until they ask you for that phone number. Now, obviously, if they're in a delirium, if they're so stressed out, they're not even thinking straight and they're at rock bottom and they can't pick themselves up, no long come up with solutions to help themselves, you might go a little bit a step further, right? But otherwise, all you do is you offer the opportunity for them to reach back to you, for you to support them. And it might not be right away. It might be 6 months down the line. They're suffering. They finally go, who was that chiropractor you told me about 6 months ago? I think it might help. Problem solvers, I'm a problem solver. Guilty as charged. We tend to give unsolicited advice. We tend to unsolicitedly problem solve. So a soul rebirth can be really hard because we don't always want to let go of these limiting beliefs that we need to, in this case, it's Capricorn, that we need to take control over a situation and help somebody because they seem to be out of control in some kind of situation. That's a Capricorn energy. It's going to be moving into Aquarius energy I can't wait. It'll be 2024, I believe. Nope, actually it goes in there, and then it goes retrograde again. But it goes in there March of 2023, so about a year from now. That's a global prediction where, for me, all of the controlling capitalistic industries, and I call them industries, industries, are going to be not taken over. They're going to be met with the general public, general humanity, wanting to create their own systems, industries. So the industries or the institutions that's what I meant to say was the institutions. Those are hospitals, medical, pharmaceutical, agricultural, political, education. Did I say educational? Yeah, all of those are institutions, right? That are united across the world. Everyone has a police department, policed, part of their community. Everyone has a government. Everyone has a medical system. Everyone has an educational system. Everyone has a healthcare system. Everyone has an agricultural system. Everyone has a Medicare, a pharmaceutical system, right? So these are all, and they're governed right now and very strictly doctrinated, pretty much across the board. Depending on where you live, they have their own rules. So when that a year from now, March 2023 comes, there's going to be, we're already at this, I've said this many times, we're already at 2080, let's say. I don't know the exact math, but 20%, we have alternatives of everything. We have alternative education, alternative agriculture, alternative government, alternative pharmaceutical. We have all this stuff, right? But it's going to meet like almost a 40-60 point. Begin to meet a 40-60 point, and you choose which way you want to go, or hopefully that's going to be the struggle, is you want a combination of both, really. I mean, there are certain medical procedures and medications that are extremely beneficial for a lot of people, but there's also alternatives that are also very beneficial for certain situations. So if I have a broken arm and I need x-rays and I need to have it casted and fixed and maybe need some painkillers, I would like to use a traditional medical system. But if I have some mental health issues and I don't want to go on Prozac or Zoloft, I would like the choice to easily segue and blend into my health regime a naturopathic or functional medicine or other types of therapies, and that could work for me as well. Okay. So right now I invite you to, so there you are in a nutshell: soul ascensions and soul rebirths. Are you having one? Are you in the middle of one? Not everybody goes through this, because it actually takes, and anyways, I want to do live readings. So, so put in your birth date, your birth year, and your question all in one line. And don't put 09 or 05. Put September, etc. So Pluto cycles through every the whole zodiac. So from Aries to Pisces, that's the entire Western zodiac system. My 12 segments. Every 248 years. 248 years. So if you don't have any planets in Cancer, if you got some planets in Cancer, you're going through a doozy right now. And if you got planets in Capricorn, you're going through an ascension. But if you don't have any planets in Earth signs, specifically later, in you're not going through a soul ascension. You may not go through one at all in this lifetime, right? Because so let me do the math here. So 248 divided by 12 zodiac signs, 20, right? So every 20 years, it's going through a new zodiac sign. So if you're 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old, it's only gone through 3 zodiac signs out of 12, which means you may not go through a soul ascension or a soul rebirth in this lifetime. And that's cool. That's okay. You might be going through a Neptune thing. I don't think I went through any. Oh, I did. I went through a square with my Mars. That was over. That was 2 years. That was just over last year. That was 2 years. And that was, how do I deal with my anger and my frustration and the direction that I go in. And my husband was going through it too. So we just used each other as placeholders to grow there. So Zarina, I've got you at early morning, June 7th, 1984. I'm not going to always say people's birthdays, but she's just a youngin. So what is your question? Right now, clairvoyantly, oh, Jacqueline, my husband. Okay, let's look at that. Good one. Jackie, we're going to look at yours too. Okay, so Zarina, I just want to energetically, clairvoyantly pick up on you as well. Okay. So there's a job change for you. A real serious job change for you. On the full moon. On the next Earth full moon. So let me look all that up. So I'm going to confirm with June 7th, 84. And edit. So June 7th, 84, the next Earth's full moon, which is, we're already in Taurus. That would be May. Sorry, we're in Gemini. So the opposition of that is Sagittarius. That one is 17th. 17th of May is our next full moon. But we're in Mercury retrograde right now. I got to mention that to you guys as well. Mercury retrograde is a very difficult time around communication. That doesn't mean you don't sign any papers. That doesn't mean, it does mean that there'll be delays. I had somebody today going, I'm not going to get my, sign my divorce papers. Like, nope, probably not until the second week of June. And just put it on the back burner and wait for that to happen. So paperwork gets delayed. Conversations get delayed. Communication becomes convoluted. You've got to really you're going to feel that everyone's being practical and rational and factual and wanting to be right and correct. Emotions are not really being met. The understanding of how people need to process isn't being met. So this can be frustrating during this time for you, especially if you're Virgo Sagittarius. But for you, Zarina, I'm also going to look at, this is, right. The beginning of May, you've already been looking at this job change. You might have already signed some paperwork or had an interview around this. And it could be a shift in your educational pursuit as well. And you're going to be going through 2 soul ascensions, girl. Woo! 2 soul ascensions. 2 soul ascensions. I love it. And I'll give you the dates on that. Just a couple. I can't ramble. If I was doing a reading for you, I'd ramble off about 8 dates because there's 2 of them. So your first soul ascension is happening right now. So it's a complete job change and career change. So, but if you were in education, then you're moving into a job change situation. It's very lucrative financially, and you got to jump on it. You got to jump on this one. And you've got the archetype of the teacher, the speaker, the writer, the marketeer, sales, etc. You also got the mind of a psychotherapist. You're really multi-talented. It's hard for you to pin down what kind of job for you to have. So you're not going to have you're going to have more than one job. You're not just going to have one career your whole life. And this is a shift right now in that another career. So let me see if there's feedback from you. What do you have to say about that? I'm not getting anything right now. We're going to look at Jacqueline. And she's asking, what is my next phase? Feel like a big change coming. Okay, not very specific, just like I like my specifics with my quickies. But let's see if I can see what I can see. There is a slowing down around your husband that I'm getting. So is he retiring? Is he not want to work as hard? Want to spend more time at home? And this is something that's kind of freaking you out, to be honest with you, a little bit. I don't have your time of birth, so we can't look at the moon. If I have your time of birth, I can tell you if you're going through a soul rebirth around how you deal with your energy around your home. I know there was a time that we talked about that when I've done several readings for you. But you are going through a soul ascension in relationship and in love as well. And I don't think you're in love with where you're living, where you're residing. So I'm seeing a lot of traveling while you go through an exploratory stage of, do we want to leave where we live? It's not about where do we want to move? It's more about how do we feel about not being where we live? How do we feel about that? Right? And you're looking at tropical. She said possibly, oh my God, laughing because he is not a believer. My time is 7:45 p.m. You're laughing because he's not a believer, and you're saying that he is slowing down and he wants to go on a bit of a retirement. He wants to be able to take a break and explore if there's somewhere else. So I think that's why you put him down. He's looking at a new job. It's got to slow his pace down though, or he won't stay there long. So let me look at his very quickly. You said you're 7, spot on. 7:05. Yeah, that's just my clairvoyant stuff. It's not even 100% astrology right now. So 7. Oh, you got the moon in Leo. So you're good with the ascension right now, or the rebirth right now. Yeah, there's going to be a move. It'll be in and around. That's what you're not able to settle where you're living. Everywhere you move, you can't settle. You don't want it to be permanent. And that's because the future was where your settlement is to be. And I'm going to give you a few dates, and that is around June. There'll be a sudden unexpected opportunity, may include just travel for the time being, and a little bit of July. And then the next is September and October. I think that's when you guys decide, yeah, we're not going to be here permanently. But the decision won't be until January next year, beginning of next year. Now, when I look at your partner, your husband's astrology chart, and I'm just back from traveling and feeling like I want warm. Yeah, it's definitely tropics. Now, your husband has what's called, you have it too, but I think you recognize it. Your husband doesn't recognize it. He has what's called seasonal something disorder. It's SAD, SAD. That one's, there's not a lot of sun, a lot of rain. He is really depressed. And because he's a workaholic, that's how he deals with his depression. And so he doesn't like his superior or his boss right now, or the structure of the changes of the structure of the business. And he's decided, well, if I just change that, which he will by the end of June, he's going to get another position, but he's looking where he can have more freedom, where he can work more remotely. And he's still not going to fall in love with it. With that one either. It'll be temporary, but what it will do is it will get him on the path of, I can work remotely. I don't have to be tied down to live in the location of where I work. Right? So I see that for about a year, and yeah, so that's the changes. It's, he can be a real stubborn. He makes a lot of decisions based on fear, and he can get stuck in that fear and planning, and he gets stuck in making a decision. I mean, it's taken him forever just to make a decision to look for another job. That's taken him a long time. He's been frustrated for 5 years, what I can see here. So he gets really romanticized easily, when he does go somewhere. But yeah, he needs to be in a leadership position as well. So the next job is good. I'm not saying it's not bad. It's actually really good and lucrative. Gives him some freedom. I see a lot of remote going on, and it puts him in a completely different career. He's going through 2 soul ascensions, so it puts him in a completely different career, things that he's never done before. So that's brave for him. He likes things to stay the same. Okay. So, anyways, there you go. Let me look back on my YouTube and Facebook and see if there's anyone there that's got any questions. Hi, Rahul. If you've got an astrological question, just give me your birth date and your birthplace and your any question, and I'll answer it. Otherwise, I've got sort of a slow traction right now here. There's not a lot of interaction going on, so I'm going to call it a day. I want to let everyone know too that I'm about to set on my gypsy traveling. Going to start getting into gypsy mode, and in gypsy mode, I'm only going to be able to book specific amount of clients, which is already almost booked up, solid. But I do my mini readings at any time, anywhere. And these are great. They're brilliant. They're specifically if you've worked with me already and you got the whole full reading and you know what you're all about. Then if you got questions about you, your husband, your partner, your friends, your children, your mother, your father, your job, you're moving, you're selling, why am I blue? What about my health? What about my stomach? What's going on? Anything, you name it. That's why it's called Ask Holly Hall. Then I can look up the answer. I record it for anywhere, depending on which one you take. I record it from 10 to 30 minutes, depending on which one you choose. It's an MP3. I talk just like I'm talking now, and I send it to you, and you get your answers within 48 hours. So, get on the horn and book those ones. Annette slid in here. Please tell me why my child seems so depressed. Her birthday is. I love working around children. I love it. In fact, I do this quite a bit. I did a mini just to a child about her. I talk like her, on her level, about her, all of the optimistical, amazing, great things. Hi, Shalini. And very positive. And even if there's some stuff going on, I kind of slide that in there very gently. And it gives the child, they feel like they're heard. They feel like they're seen. Even though the parents will sit there and go, I know that. I've always told her I knew that. But you say it and now it's golden. Yeah, I know. Isn't that always the way it is, moms? You say something over and over and over again, and somebody else comes in, says something, you're like, what? I've been telling you that all your life, that I know you're smart, and I know you're beautiful, and I know you're amazing. What time is she born? Okay, 8:20. Now everybody's popping on board. Okay, 8:20 a.m. This is neat because she's from Limerick, Ireland. Vera's, that's chiming in. I believe she was born in Ireland. And Jacqueline is not from Ireland, but lives in Ireland right now. So let's do a little Irish dance. Okay? Let's bring in the Irish Limerick magic. Let's bring that magic in right now. Let's bring it in. Okay, we're going to create some magic right now. Right? We've got all of the magic of the ancient folklore of Ireland. Let's make that happen. Let's put that golden bucket of gold at the end of the rainbow. But let's create the rainbow first. And we're all going to put that energy towards a child that seems to be very depressed. And she's also in Ireland. Second. 8:20 a.m. Glad I looked at that again. Okay. And good question, Mom. You know what she is? There's a couple of things going on here. She's going through a soul ascension, which is around love. What is love? I know what love is. I get what love is. I totally understand love. This is her. This is her talking since March. And I know that what you're doing, and I'm not saying you, Mom, although this is being you are the placeholder for her going through letting go of some limiting beliefs. And so she's got the mind of a psychotherapist. She's got undeniable, compassionate love. And this is what's being hit right now. She's realizing that there's friends, female friends specifically, that are not, how old is she? She is 8, 9, 10, right? 10, approximately 10. So she's extremely creative. She doesn't want to practice anything creative, such as music, acting, art, creativity, because she's got a level of perfection that she feels that she has to meet. So if I'm going to go through a learning curve and somebody's going to teach me something I don't know how to do, I feel imperfect in that learning phase, and therefore I don't even want to try it. She does need her alone time. She is someone who loves her privacy. She needs her privacy. She's a servant. She's got the mind of a servant. She is exhausted in a lot of gossip that's going on, and she does not feel on the same level. She's very mature, and she's not hanging out with muses. She's not hanging out with artsy fartsy people. She's not hanging out with creatives. Unfortunately, they don't foster this in school systems. And she's being particularly hard on herself because she feels invisible. And the more that you see her, Mom, the more that will frustrate her, because she doesn't want to hear it from you. She knows you see her. She knows you love her. She knows you're compassionate and see her compassion. But it's a specific female friend too, that she has a lot of compassion for. This friend is going through a lot of suffering, and this friend comes across as a bully in school and is very mean with their words, this particular friend. And she has been the victim of those mean words. And she's having a difficult time wanting to maintain support, to maintain supporting this person. Okay, so what I'm going to see is how that resonates so far. It's not a bad thing what she's going through, but she will have a hard time talking to you and or talking to therapists. So what's happening is that this friend is letting her down. And so she's kind of spellbound. She's very emotional. She picks up on the emotions and the feelings of others, and she's got the mind of a psychotherapist. So she's actually psychoanalyzing this person as well, and is serving them and wants to help them. You do have to be careful, because she can get caught up in that person's depressive story, that she can become in that depressive state as well, really trying to help that person. So the best way for you to approach this is either make up a story or remember a story of your own, and I think you have one, in which you helped somebody. She's really good at rescuing even animals too, like small animals. And she does have, hi Cindy, she has about, and what she's doing is she's about a year of this. It's not going to be nonstop for a year. It's actually going to subside quite a bit. But she's learning what unconditional love is, which means we help people with no conditions, which means we don't expect them to get better. We don't expect them to be healed, to feel better. We don't expect them to be a better friend. Okay, we don't expect them to stop being mean to us. Unconditional love means that we do things without a condition, and that's what she's learning. She's only 10. That's what she's learning. I don't know what your personality type is, Mom. I think that you're actually a very extroverted, social person with chosen few groups of people. Okay, I'm not saying that you'll go into a strange party and say, well, I'm the life of the party. But amongst the people that you trust and you feel safe with, and they're your people, and you got many of them, you're social. And you like to continue that sociability within the family, but she's making it difficult because she wants to spend some time, a lot of time alone. Music is really good for her, especially for studying. Music in the background while she's studying, music while she's sleeping. Get those sound machines that have a cross between music and sound and water. She loves the water. She has a mind of a psychotherapist, so when she asks questions or she wants help, you ask her, and she's got a problem solver. So you ask her how she would solve it. If she comes to you and says, oh, you know what, Mom, Sarah at school is, her parents are divorcing and she's really having a hard time and she's being mean to the teacher. And I know it's just because she's really sad. You can't problem solve that for her. The best compliment you can give her is asking her how what do you think you should do? What do you think you could do? Do you think you can do anything? Oh my gosh, I feel so sorry for that child. Show her empathy. Show her that you have compassion, which you do, but don't problem solve. This is a child who feels insulted if you're problem solving for her, trying to make things go away, trying to fix things, because that's telling her that there's something wrong. There must be something wrong with me because you're trying to fix it, right? I know that's obviously do your due diligence. If it's a life with that death situation, she's a child, you have to, right? Okay, so one more. You mentioned that in May, there's possibility that travel restrictions in Canada would lift. Is this still on for May or a future date? So in other global predictions, I saw the lifting a bit in May, but it's not publicized. This is what you have to be careful. Okay. So I'm going to give you an example. Let's say you have a child, and that child is constantly asking you to go to Johnny's house all the time. And at that time, it was overwhelming for you. You were working. Johnny lives 3, 4, 5 miles away. You had to drive them all the time. And there was school, and he wasn't doing so well in school. And he should have been focusing on time studying. And you're nattering with your husband about it. And just taking to Johnny's house all the time was making you crazy. So that child starts to think, I can't go to Johnny's house. I can't ask my mom to take me to Johnny's house. In fact, maybe I can't ask my parents to take me anywhere. Right? So I'm just not going to do that anymore. But somewhere along the line, you're not working as hard anymore. He's starting to do better in school. You're not nattering with your husband anymore. So going to Johnny's house is perfectly fine. But he thinks it's not. So he never opens up looking for an opportunity to go. And you never say, by the way, if you want to go to Johnny's place, you can start going now. And so this never happens, right? You never turn it around. Or if you're a very prideful parent, you may not say, you know what, mommy was kind of just messed up back then, and I'm better now. So everything's cool. So that's our government, right? So I will tell you for a fact that we have friends that go across the Canadian-American border over and over and over again. And I know they are not vaxxed. They told us this straight out. And nothing happens. They have no problem going back and forth over the border. And I do believe they're in Ontario. I know you're out in BC. And they fly from the States after that. I do know specifically of people who have flown without a QR code or a Vax Pass. Perfectly fine. Nobody stopped them. Nobody asked them. And yet it was a retreat that they were going to. Now, she was flying out of Vancouver. She is a doctor. And she was flying out of Vancouver, and she didn't have anything. She had all her PCR tests and everything. This was a 300-person retreat in Egypt. And yet somebody in Toronto tried 2 different airlines and they wouldn't let him go, right? But most of the people somehow from Canada made it there. So that's a hit and miss, right? So it's not necessarily lifting of restrictions. It's more of a less restrictive environment in Canada that is happening now until elections, provincial elections. So whatever your provincial election time is, I think ours is June in Ontario, that's when things are just going to be laxed. They can't be bothered. They're focusing on something else. Now, and then therefore that domino effects to the people that work in these certain situations that are supposed to be diligent about asking for everything. So it really so that's laxed as well too, because they're not being reprimanded, they're not being asked for reports, they're not being told to follow this regime and that regime, they're not going to meetings every week, having this shoved down their throats. This is what's happening right now. But you're still going to get the odd person that is very strict and does exactly what they're told to do, or they have their own agenda that's going to be partial to this. So what I'm saying is that May and June is a good time in Canada to take that risk, to take that chance to either cross over the border and fly, okay, or fly. Definitely don't do Air Canada. I don't like Air Canada at any time in my life. Ever since I went to Vegas like 12 years ago, I've never liked Air Canada. I do everything not to fly Air Canada. Okay, so there you go. There's your answer. Hi, Cindy. And I'm going to now go. Namaste. Thank you, Jacqueline. Maybe you want to go to a mini if you want to have a specific question about your son. I hope this has helped everyone. If you're just chiming in now, I'm going to try to edit the very beginning because I want to put that in a separate YouTube video with all the readings. But the first 20 minutes solid, I talked about soul ascensions and soul rebirths. You want to know what they are. If you want to know if you're going through one, you're going to have at least a mini reading with me. Okay, everyone. Namaste. Street.